Hi Fabio, can we start now?
Of course we can. All good
Yeah.
to me.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yeah, good morning from Jakarta, Indonesia. First and foremost, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you for joining us today at the online workshop How to Get a Scholarship Tips for Success hosted by the Center for Southeast Asian Studies Academy. My name is Jihan Herun Amala and will be the master of ceremony for today's workshop. This workshop is conducted online via Zoom and live streaming on CSEAS TV YouTube channel. Before we begin, I'd like to take a few moments for explain the rules for today's workshop. For participants who join, please turn on your camera and Q&A session will be done through the chat box in YouTube live streaming or feature raise hand on Zoom. We hope that you will participate fully in this online workshop and thank you very much for your kind cooperation. Without further ado, it is an honor for me to invite our speaker today, Fabio Coelho. Professionally, Fabio has worked as a teacher of English in Brazil, as a writing specialist, and also as a bilingual public school teacher in San Jose, California. Fabio also has had extensive professional experience in Indonesia, first as an English language fellow working with pre and in-service teacher in Indonesia universities, and later as a teacher and secondary coordinator at an international school. He also worked across the Indonesian archipelago as an English language examiner, a job he continued to do later in China as a language assessment consultant for the British Council. Please, Fabio, time is yours.
all right, thank you. I appreciate everybody who's here today. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I love working with any organizations or universities or students from Indonesia. I was able to teach in Indonesia a few years. And it's always a pleasure for me to do that. Before we begin though, I would like to first of all, to thank Parisman for setting this up, to thank Jihan for moderating the session, and all of you who are participating today. I hope that you're having a really good time and course of studies with whatever you are studying. And in a few minutes, I want to hear from you guys too. What are some of the fields that you're dedicating to that you want to get a degree in, or if you already have your degree, because that's important. So the goal today is how to get a scholarship, and this workshop will be divided into two parts. The first part is like the nitty-gritty or the details of what it takes to really get a scholarship. And the second part, I want to focus a little bit more on the statement of purpose. If we have time, we may touch on the statement of purpose today, but ideally we would do all the preparation until the statement of purpose and then focus on it. Why do I say that? Because understanding the scholarship process will help you prepare a good statement of purpose. If you don't know what the committee will be looking for when they read your statement of purpose, it's really hard to include those elements in your statement. And that's why we need to do this first part before getting to the document itself. Another thing that I wish to do, I don't want to be talking the whole day and with people just looking at me. I do hope that you are ready to ask questions. The questions that I ask, they don't have right or wrong answers. It's just your opinion. It's just about your experience. And the more you participate and answer, the easier for me will be to adapt the content of the workshop to your needs, right? Because you're not here to just listen to someone talk about something that is not important to you. You're here to engage with me and get whatever it is that you need, that you need, okay? That's important. So please, the session is not mine, the session is yours. That's very important thing to know. So if you're not getting what you need, then you need to stop me and say, hey, can I ask you a question? And then you ask the question about what you need, okay? Anytime, just raise your hand. You can do it on Zoom. You can just put your hand up and that's fine. If possible, I know that some of you may be in class or maybe in other events, and then it's okay to keep your cameras off. But if you If you're not in that situation, like some of you are not, please feel free to turn your cameras on. It's easier when you can see faces and interact with them. Don't feel bad if you cannot turn your camera on. I know that some of you probably have other things going on, and turning the camera on will be a little complicated for you. I do understand that, okay? And my goal is also I planned about, we're starting a little bit into the time, but I planned about an hour of presentation, then 30 minutes for questions. But I'll do about 45 minutes and do some questions and see where we're at. And then if necessary, we'll do another session later with the focus on the statement. So can you very quickly introduce yourselves to me? Just say your name and what you study.
Sorry, Fabio, me?
Everyone.
Yeah, everyone in. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Maybe start from our team, yeah, from CSEAS. Please, Mbak Nirmala first, maybe.
Okay, yeah. Hello, Fabio.
Hello.
I'm Nirmala. Yeah, I'm Bachelor of Sociology.
Sociology.
I work
Okay,
in
nice to meet
CSEAS.
you.
Yeah, Sociology. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay, next one is please, Anissa.
Hello, Fabio.
Hello.
My name is Anissa. My background is economy development.
Economic development. Yeah. Who did I meet when I went to Pa Arisman's office? I think I met a couple of you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, that's it. Because you look familiar to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Economic development, sociology. What else?
And Adila, maybe.
Okay, hello, Mr. Fabio. My name is Adila. My background is economic development.
Economic development. Thank you. Nice to meet you as well, all of you. Is anybody else available to introduce themselves? If you're
Yes.
not, it's okay.
Maybe Mbak Sofia.
Hello, Mr. Fabio. My background is economic development.
Economic development. Great.
Okay. Next one, Mbak Intan.
Hello, sir. I'm Intan Cahyani and I'm from Development Economics.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Nice to meet you as well.
Maybe Mbak or Mas Lut.
They may not be able to speak, right? I would
Yeah,
imagine.
it's okay. Maybe the next one is Mbak Felix. Mas Felix, sorry. Okay. Maybe I think that's all, Fabio. Yes.
It's enough. It gave me an idea, and I know some of you are probably listening and you cannot participate, and that's fine. So we'll move on. So let me start the slideshow. And so let me talk to you all. Also, the reason why I asked you for your fields is because when you do a statement of purpose, that counts a lot. Okay, what you're going to put and what relates to your field, and the examples I can show can also help you because they may reflect that. And also, I've worked with scholarship preparation in general, more specifically with language training. And we're not necessarily going to focus too much on language on this workshop, but if you have any questions about English as well, you feel free to ask me, okay? Even though your English sounds very good to me, so I don't think you're going to have that many questions. So let's talk about, so what am I doing today? Well, I'm an English language professional. I'm working on 2 curriculum projects, one for a nonprofit in Washington, D.C., and one for the U.S. Embassy in Brazil. And for both projects, I'm developing English language curricula for students, high school students and adults who use English every day. And I'm also a PhD student, and the focus of my research and study is the internationalization of higher education, like how universities internationalize. So that's the focus of my study now. That's how I got to meet Pa Arisman. So if you're looking for scholarships, the best, in some countries like Indonesia, you do have scholarships that you allow you to go to many sources like LPDP and some other scholarships from MORA and other ministries. Ministry of Finance runs LPDP, etc. And going to the websites or going to these programs is the most important thing. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, but LPDP is very competitive, or many people go there. Great. Another way you can try is the embassies or the bodies from other countries that have offices in Indonesia. I know AMINEF has an office in Indonesia. You can visit them anytime you want. I've been to their office there. NUFIC at the Dutch embassy, they have an office in Indonesia. Usually, most embassies will have a room for you to check out scholarships and talk to people. All you have to do is look up their number online. If, for example, German embassy in Jakarta, call them and say, hey, I'm interested in a scholarship. Where can I go for information? They will either send to you or they will tell you, oh, you can come here and visit, which is a cool thing because you can get to visit the embassy and talk to people there. And you can also have information that most people don't have because they don't do this. They are afraid of calling and asking for a visit, right? And so that's one of the things I would recommend. Even if you want to visit the US Embassy, you can call the US Embassy and say, hey, can I go and visit and learn about scholarships? They'll get you information. Also, I would try embassy websites. And there is also repositories. There is an S missing here, like Scholarships for Development, which I really recommend. This website, I'm going to put it in the chat box. This is a website that lists many scholarships for countries in development, like Indonesia, like Brazil, like Mexico. And it's a very good source of information about scholarships. I highly recommend it. Let me stop sharing, put it there for you. There you go. That's the website. Okay. This website has existed for a few years. Many people don't know about it, but it's recommendable for sure. All right. So sharing again. So because why would I recommend the search? Some people they apply in every directions. You don't have to apply in every directions. Go everywhere, every country you go, you may find 2 or 3 universities that have programs that you're interested in. Make a list of programs, make a PowerPoint, and write down the requirements for, because each country has a different requirement. Each university have a different requirement. 70% of these requirements will be similar, but that 30% that is different, you have to do a very specific preparation, right? It could be the language. It could be the type of statement of purpose. It could be the score on TOEFL or IELTS. It could be any of these elements, but it's important to know. I usually do a PowerPoint and I put scholarship, university, requirements, and I put all the requirements, and then I put check boxes so I can check if I have the requirements or not. Then you can see if you're more competitive, right? Usually requirements for most scholarships are like this. You have to have completed your S2 or bachelor's degree. You have to have a relevant experience in the field. So just a diploma is probably not enough. You don't have to have worked, but sometimes they want some experience as an intern. It could be an internship. It could be volunteer work in your field. That's very, very important, because if you haven't tried your field, if you haven't tested your field, it's very difficult for you to convince them that you really know that that's what you want. Okay. For example, let's say you want to go to abroad to study. I mean, you do economic development. You want to study NGOs. Okay. How NGOs. So if they ask, well, have you ever volunteered or worked for an NGO? No. Well, they may think that you chose the topic of NGOs just because it's something that you like, but it's not something that you have experienced. Does that make sense? But if someone says, no, I want to study how NGOs organize themselves because I worked at an NGO, and those are the problems that I see the NGO facing. So those are the problems I want to investigate. That's a lot more convincing, a lot more persuasive. And that's why they want you to have that experience. TOEFL scores, those are the minimum scores. IELTS, many universities require 6.5. Some will accept 6, right? But that's the very minimum. Usually they require a little higher than that. Maybe instead of 80, 85, 90, instead of 550, 600, 650. But those are the ranges that you should know. Leadership qualities. Leadership qualities doesn't mean going to the front and speaking and leading a group. It doesn't mean that. Leadership qualities could be also in teamwork, right? You know how to give your best in a team. You know how to provide your part or your share of a work or of a project. That's also leadership skills. If you, for example, if you have taught high school students, if you have tutored them for free in the local mosque, that's leadership, right? If you have coordinated food donations to poor people in your area and you do that once a month, or you did that 5 or 6 times, that's leadership. There's a lot of things in leadership. It could be something that you do in your university, in your religion, for example, in your mosque or within any Islamic organization. It could be something you do to society in general, to your city. Any of this can qualify as leadership. They want to know that you're going to return to Indonesia. Why do you think that's a requirement? Anybody has a guess? Why do you think they want you to return to Indonesia after the scholarship? Why do you think that? A guess. Somebody guess. Yeah, anybody. And you can unmute yourselves. Why do you think you would give someone a scholarship and say, you have to return to Indonesia after the scholarship? I'm not going to continue until I hear someone guess, whatever you want to say. Why do you think? Or write on the chat box if you don't want to unmute yourself. Why do you think they want us to come back? Yeah. Okay, let me see the chat box. Somebody, anybody? I'm asking you on purpose because you're too quiet and I don't want to be the only one speaking. I see people writing. Let me see how I can get my checkbox again, my text box, because it sort of disappeared from my screen. Oh, I think it's the ask. So any guesses? Let me check the chat box to see if I have. So why do people want us to go back to Indonesia after we study abroad? If you are from Indonesia. Any of you that I can see has a guess? To develop our country. Nirmala, that's very good. Any other reasons? Because of the knowledge they can develop in Indonesia. Exactly. If Germany gives you a scholarship, it's not so that you can go and help Germany. It's so that you can develop your own community. So, if you go to a scholarship and say, hey, I want to get the scholarship because I want to move abroad and work there, they're probably not going to give it to you. It's very, very important. And some scholarships, they make you sign a contract, right? That you're going to return. Do you know about that? Yep. Yes, no? Okay, you can unmute yourselves. Go ahead, unmute yourselves. Let me hear your voice. Are you familiar with the contract that some scholarships have?
Actually, I don't know.
Not really.
No, yeah. So that's something to tell. Some scholarships, for example, when you go to some countries, like if you go to, if you get a Fulbright scholarship with Aminaf, they'll make you sign a contract saying after the Fulbright, you can maybe stay in the United States for an internship for another year, that's fine. But after that, you have to go back and spend at least 5 years in Indonesia before you can go and work in the United States. They ask you for that because they want to see, it's not that you can never go back and live in the United States, but they want you to go back and work in your country for some years to help your country develop, because that's why you're studying abroad. Okay, so this is a requirement. Also, they want you to have good understanding of your culture and international cultures. Why? Because when you go abroad, do you think you are representing just yourself, or are you representing your whole country?
Of course, my country. Yeah.
Your country. Okay. So if you're Muslim, you're still gonna have to talk about people who are Hindu, people who are Christian, people who are, because they're all Indonesian. It's all part of Indonesian too. If someone is Hindu, they are gonna talk about Indonesia being a Muslim majority country, and they are gonna have to talk about that. So it's important to know a little bit about everything, because you are not there just to talk for yourself. You're there to talk and represent your whole country. People will ask you about other parts of Indonesia where you don't live. You don't have to have been to those parts. You don't have to have visited Sumatra and all that. We have to at least know how to explain, okay? Because you are the good. Some scholarships say our students are ambassadors of their country. So they call you an ambassador of Indonesia if you go abroad and study. And of course, you need recommendation letters, and we are going to talk about that, especially because that's an important aspect. So how do you start? Okay. First of all, know the requirements. Know the requirements. A lot of people come to me and say, hey, there is a scholarship in 3 months that I have to apply for. Can you write a recommendation for me? And I said, do you know the requirements? No, I'm not writing the recommendation for you. You don't even know what you need. And second, 3 months is not enough to prepare for a scholarship. You need at least a year. If you are really, really good and you are almost ready, maybe 6 months. If you need some work to do, maybe a year. A lot of people only get a scholarship after 1.5 years of preparation. That's okay. The important is to start now. Okay, so know the requirements. How do you get them? Read about the scholarship, right? Get a publication or the website. What are, for example, if you're applying for LPDP, what are the requirements of LPDP? That's good. And keep a good GPA. You don't have to keep a 4.0, but it's important to have at least some scholarships will not accept you if your GPA is lower than 3.2. Okay, 3 out of 4. If out of 4 your GPA is a 3.2, you're good. Less, they will accept you if you have a really good statement of purpose. Okay, but if your GPA is very, very low, they won't accept you. Your chances are better. People ask me, is it better if do I have more chances if it's a 3.5 instead of a 3.2? Maybe, but that will really depend on your statement of purpose too and your experience. Most scholarships, they would prefer a person with a GPA of a 3.3 that has a lot of leadership experience and volunteer experience than someone that has a 4.0 and no leadership experience and no volunteer experience. They would prefer to give the scholarship to the people who have those experiences, because you have more experiences, not only one. Does that make sense? So don't feel like, oh, my GPA is not 4.0. No problem. You don't have to have that. It has to be competitive, but other experiences also count. Okay. Develop your academic English. And why do I say academic English? Because a lot of people say, oh, I belong to an English club. I practice my English every week. Well, but that's not academic English. Academic English is English for reading, for writing, for speaking, okay, and especially writing, academic writing, and for presentations. Actually, let me say it again. Academic English is English for academic presentations, English for writing academic texts. So train essays, train persuasive writing. If you're preparing for IELTS or TOEFL, you're probably preparing for that as well. Okay? Because the IELTS is a test of academic English. The TOEFL is a test of academic English. It's not a test of English for traveling. That's different, okay? So those tests are tests of academic English, English for university, English for school. That's what it is. Again, participate in volunteer community organizations. It can be once a month, it can be every 2 months. That's fine, as long as you are involved, okay? Why? Because if you're saying to a scholarship body that you're going to go to another country, study, and come back and help your nation, They want to know that you're already helping your nation now by volunteering. That's the message that you're sending. Okay. I also put organize or join study groups. A lot of people forget that. Okay. If you are preparing for the TOEFL or if you are writing a statement of purpose, make a group. Okay. Make a group of 5 people and meet every 2 weeks and study together how to write a statement of purpose. When you have a draft, send to your friends. Your friends can read and give you feedback. You can read your friends' statements and you can give them feedback. Help each other write. Help each other understand the requirements. Help each other go through this process. It's a lot easier in a group of 3 or 4 people than alone. It's a lot easier. Okay, help each other. If 2 people pass, get the scholarship, and 2 people don't pass, the next year the other people who pass can help you again, right? They can help you so you can prepare. So always work together. Okay, join study groups. If you don't have them, organize them. Talk to people who have gotten the scholarship that you want. Okay, if you want to go to Arizona State University in the United States, many people in LPDP are already in Arizona State University. Contact them. Email LPDP and say, hey, can you send me the names of 3 students who are studying in Arizona State from Indonesia? Send them an email and say, hey, can you give me a tip? What was the most important thing you did to get accepted there? Talk to the alumni or to the people who are studying now, the people who came back or the ones who are there now. Okay. Look for mentors, people like Alyssa or other people who can mentor you, help you through the process. They can be lecturers, they can be students, they can be professionals. Okay. And most importantly, if you fail, try again. Let me give you some data. A lot of the people who get Fulbright scholarships, not most people, but almost 50%, they get it the second or the third time they apply. They don't get it the first time. Why do they get it the second time? Because the first application they sent is not so good, but they learn from the process. So the next year when they apply again, their application is much stronger. So they're more competitive. That's the important thing, okay? So if you fail, try again. It's very common for people to get it the second time or the third time. I know many, many cases in Indonesia of people who got scholarships the second time they tried or the third time they tried. Okay? And let's talk about essay tips. Okay, we're not going to talk about the essay, but for the essay that you write, always prepare some stories about yourself, right? They always want to hear you tell about yourself, maybe some difficulties that you had. Maybe you are the only person in your family that has a college degree. That is an important story. Maybe you are the only woman in your family that has a college degree. That's an important story, okay? Maybe you are from a poor family, but you still worked, saved money, and got a college degree. That's an important story, okay? Maybe during your college years, your family went through a lot of health problems. Your parents had health issues. You had to help them, but you still got your college degree. That's the story, okay? Maybe you discovered your love for NGOs because you volunteered for an NGO when you were a college student, and you saw how much they struggle and you want to help them. That's the story. So tell your story. That's important. But your story has to connect with your study, okay? You cannot be, oh, I have a lot of friends, they love me, and I'm very good to them. No, that's not connected to your study. Your story has to connect with your goal. What's your goal? So how does your story connect with your goal? You know, yeah, that's it. For example, if it was very difficult for you to get a college degree or go to college, you can say, no, by going to college, I learned that it's important to fight for what you want. And so I'm going to use this same energy to fight for my master's degree abroad. There you go. You made a connection, right? You had to fight for your S1. Now you know that you're going to have to fight for your S2, and you're not afraid because you have the experience. There you go. That's the story. Right? Identify a problem in Indonesia and explain how your study abroad will help solve this problem. That's important, right? Again, I gave you the example about that before. Let's say I'm talking about NGOs a lot, but if you study economic development and you want to help small villages develop, right? Let's, instead of NGOs, small villages. Okay, you can say, you know, many small villages in Indonesia don't have a lot of economic activity, so people have to go to big cities. I want to develop a project on, my project will help small villages create more economic opportunities, because I come from a small village and many people in my age had to move, right? That's it. You're connecting your study to a problem in your country, to your experience. Perfect, right? You made the perfect connection, okay? And again, research the universities you are interested in and specific programs before applying. For example, a lot of people say, oh, I want to apply to Harvard. Oh, and I want to study village economic development. Well, maybe there's no professors in Harvard that study this. So they're not going to give you the scholarship. So don't apply to Harvard if they don't have somebody there. Apply to another university that has the person with that specific knowledge that you're looking for, okay? How do you know this? Look for the professors. Google them online, okay? PhD specializing in small village development, okay? Find their names, find the university they work at, send them an email. Hey, I'm interested in applying to your university. What do you think, okay? That's how I got into my PhD. I found the program. My PhD is in Europe. I found the program in Europe, and then I mailed them and say, hey, this is what I want to study. Am I a good fit? And they say, oh, perfect. You're a perfect fit. Send us your application. And I sent my application and I got in. You see, that's how I got into my PhD. I looked online, I found the program, and I connected with them, and then I sent my application. Okay, so that's it. And be respectful, but don't be too humble. Okay, but say, oh, I know I don't deserve this scholarship, but I'm trying. No, of course you deserve it, right? You can say, be respectful. Look, I know this is an important scholarship. I know that it's not for everybody, but I'm preparing myself and I'm ready for it. That's it. Okay, you are showing respect, but you're also showing that you can do it. Because if you make yourself too little, maybe they're not going to believe in you. Okay, so be humble, but not too humble. Don't exaggerate it. Okay, if you are applying, you deserve the scholarship like everybody. Okay, everybody's the same, right? And so you deserve it. Everybody deserves it. You just have to work hard. That's what. Okay, but don't show that your confidence is too low. Okay. Let's talk about some more tips for success. Okay. This is very, very important. Never send any statement of purpose. Never write anything and send it before other people check it for you. Okay. When you are submitting something that you write to a professor, that can contain mistakes. And your professor can tell you, please correct your mistakes and submit it again. But when you are submitting to a scholarship body or to a selection body, you have to do the best you can. If you are a very good candidate, and then there's another person that's also a very good candidate, and they're saying, who should we give this scholarship to? And they read your statement of purpose, and it has a lot of mistakes, and they read the other person's statement of purpose, and they say, no mistakes, and they may say, well, that other person, they revised their statement of purpose before submitting to us. So they like the work perfect. We're going to give the scholarship to them, because that shows that they are careful. That shows that they think about details. Does that make sense? So that's why. So before you submit it, send to people, send to English teachers that you had, send to lecturers that you know speak English, and say, hey, can you read this for me and help me correct it? They will read and they will give you feedback. Okay. Never send something without other people reading it and helping you correct it. Okay. We are not, everything I write, I do this with my PhD, I do this with work. Every time I apply for a scholarship, every time I apply for a job, I have 3 friends and we send things to each other, say, hey, I'm applying for a job, I'm writing this letter of application, can you correct it for me? And my friends tell me, hey, fix this, don't fix that, and they help me fix it. Okay, that's important. Yeah. Read the questions on the application very carefully. Keep them next to you as you write. Okay, this is a big problem that people have. Sometimes they don't answer the questions. big problem. Big problem. Okay. Use your spell check and your grammar check on Word. Talk about the diversity that you represent, right? Everybody always belongs to a group, okay? For example, if you are from Java, that's part of your diversity. If you are Muslim, that's part of your diversity. If you are a woman, that's part of your diversity, okay? If you are, for example, if you have a disability of some type, that's a type of diversity. So any of that is diversity, and that works in your favor, that helps you, okay? It doesn't mean that they're gonna prefer you to other people, but they want a balance, right? Let me tell you something. In Aminef, sometimes they want to give a scholarship. They have, for example, 20 scholarships, and they don't want to give the scholarship to everybody from Java. They want to have, okay, maybe 11 people from Java, maybe 3 people from Sumatra, 3 people from Kalimantan. They want, okay, so that diversity is important, right? Because they want to help develop all Indonesia, not only Java. Does that make sense? So it's important to know, you know, I'm from this island, I'm from this religion, I'm from this cultural group. That's very, very important, okay? And show that you are tolerant and open-minded. And of course, most people who are studying abroad, it's because they are tolerant and open-minded, so that shouldn't be a problem to you, but it's important, okay? For example, I was born and raised in a Christian family, but most of my friends in Indonesia are Muslim, so that's okay with me because I don't care what their religion is. They're just my friends, right? And that's being open-minded, that's being tolerant. I don't look for people who are just like me. No, I look for people who are also different because I can learn from them. That's important, okay? You don't learn a lot from people who are like you, but you can learn a lot from people who are different from you. So that shows that you are open-minded, okay? That's important. You don't have to be like them or to make yourself like them. You're just learning from them. And those are some common reasons why people are usually rejected in scholarships. And this is common not only to Fulbright, but to other scholarships too. Sometimes people cannot talk about why their scholarship, why their study will help their country. So they have no social purpose, okay? It seems like the person wants a scholarship just because they want to travel. Maybe it's not the truth, but they were not able to write that in their statement of purpose. They cannot convince the people enough. So the examiners think, you know, that person doesn't really have a social purpose. They have only an individual purpose. We're not going to give them the scholarship. Okay, that's one reason. The other reason is because they don't revise essays, or their English is poor. They don't prepare for exams. They don't prepare for essay or for IELTS or TOEFL. Again, your essay is not revised, so it's not clear. It doesn't make sense, right? I've seen a lot of those essays that people send me. Or sometimes people are overqualified. You know, they already have a master's degree and they're applying for a master's degree. Well, why are you applying for a master's degree if you already have one, right? No, or sometimes they're underqualified, right? They don't have, like, they have no community service experience. They have no voluntary experience. They have very poor language. They're not really qualified yet. Yeah? Or maybe because they want to study something completely unrelated. Okay, well, I graduated from economics. Now I want to study dancing. Well, it's hard. It's really hard. It can happen if you can connect, if you can make a connection, you know. But if you graduated in dancing and then you want to go abroad and study dancing, that's great. They're probably going to give you the scholarship if you have a good application. But if you studied engineering and then you want to switch to dancing, that's a hard thing to convince. That doesn't mean that you cannot change. For example, you can study economic development and go abroad and do a master's in public policy. That's fine. It's connected, right? You can do you can study economics and go abroad and do a master's in management. That's fine too. Okay, but sometimes you can change. It just has to be related. Okay, it has to be related. Critical skills is important. Okay, show that you can analyze. Show that you can see both sides of things, not only your side, but both sides. Right? And sometimes, okay, some universities, this is in the United States, this is not true for many countries, they will require GRE or GMAT or SAT. In this case, but that's not a problem for most scholarships that you apply from in Indonesia. You're probably not going to have to do those exams. But if your score is too low, that could be a problem. If it's medium, that's not a problem. Okay, it doesn't have to be high. And those are some of the questions that you okay, now I want you to unmute yourselves again, because let's try to understand why they ask those questions. For example, one of the questions is, how will you adapt to life in the target country? So for example, if you want to go to the Netherlands, they may ask you, how will you adapt to life in the Netherlands? Why do you think they ask you that? Unmute yourself and just tell me what's in your head. Yeah. Why is it important for them to know that?
Yeah, because I think in Indonesia, in Netherlands, Muslim is minority, so they want to how to adapt to that difference.
Exactly what you're going to do, right? They want to say, are you
Yeah.
prepared? You live in a country where you are the majority. Are you ready to live in a country where you are the minority? Right?
Mhm.
That's good. There's other simple things too. The weather, you know,
Yeah, Indonesia is only 2 seasons.
yeah, you know,
But in
like
Netherlands,
if you come back from the Netherlands because it's too cold for you, what happened to your scholarship? Wasted money, right? They put so much money in you, but then you came back. Now they cannot give that money to somebody else, and the scholarship is lost. They don't want to do that. Okay, so you have to show that you're ready. Okay, so it's important to show that you have adapted. Maybe if you moved from a small village to living in Jakarta, that's an example of adaptation. That's a good example. Okay, and so that's important. Okay? What difficulties do you expect to face abroad? Same reason. Okay. Yes, I expect to find difficulty. Maybe you know, I know people in the United States are welcoming, but there are people in the United States that discriminate against Muslims. Right? There are, you know, there are people in every country that discriminate, right? And so, if you find someone like that, are you ready to confront them? Right? Are you ready to be yourself? You know, because you have to be yourself, right? And so it's important, right? So what difficulties do you expect to see? Or maybe some people have prejudice, maybe some people, right? Again, most people don't face those problems, but it could happen, right? Why can't you study this in Indonesia? Why do you think this is a question that they ask? What's your guess? Any guesses? Come on, what's in your head? Why can't you study this in Indonesia? Why is it important for them to ask? It's a difficult question to answer, right? But let me give you the rationale. Let me help you with that. Anybody else would like to try? Just a guess. It's okay if it's wrong, because I'm getting you to think about other things. If you have the same okay, let's say, for example, you want to study small village development in let's say in the UK, but then Win Jakarta has a PhD in small business development, and the professors in Jakarta, they studied in the same university that you want to go to in the UK. Do you need to go there to learn, or can you learn from them? In this case, if you have people in your country that have the same knowledge, do you need to go abroad to learn that? What do you think?
no.
No, you don't, right? So that's it. So when you find something to study, find something that is unique, that it doesn't exist in Indonesia yet, okay? Yeah. But do your research. That's important, okay? It doesn't have to be 100% different, but every country, like if I'm going to study Indonesian Islam, the best scholars are in Indonesia. They're not in other countries in the world, you know? And so And that's the thing. So I have to know that I have to be there. So for example, if I going to apply for a scholarship in Indonesia, I can say, yeah, I want to study Indonesian Islam or Islam Nusantara, how some people call it. So I need to go there. Because in the United States, there's not too many people who know about this. That's okay, right? It makes sense. But if you want to study something that is too common, that doesn't help. Parisman, do you want to say something?
No.
Yeah, good.
Go ahead.
So it's very important. So practice these questions, answer them to yourself. You know, why do you have to go abroad to study this? Why don't you study this in Indonesia? Try to create that answer for yourself. Because if you can answer that to yourself, you can answer that to other people, right? And how will Indonesia benefit from your study? I think we talked about this before. And also, many of the questions they will ask you in the interview, they will read your personal statement and they'll say, I want to know more about this. They said that they come from a really poor family. So I want to hear more about how they managed to study in Jakarta. So they may ask you those questions. So they will read your statement of purpose and they will ask you more questions from that. Okay. So be prepared. So I really advise that before you go to an interview, always read your statement of purpose again and be ready to explain it. Because sometimes you write something and you turn it in, and then 3 months later, somebody said, oh, you wrote in your statement of purpose that this happened, and you can't remember. So, oh my gosh, did I write this, right? It happens to me too, okay? And of course, they want to know what you're going to do after you graduate, okay? So it's okay to say, you know, maybe I want to stay another 6 months to get some work experience, and then I'll come back to Indonesia. That's fine, you can say that, okay? It's okay if you say that, as long as your plan involves going back, okay? And this is an example that they use for the Dictee scholarships in Fulbright, or the Ministry of Education scholarships. They look at your motivation. They want to see that you're motivated to study. They want to see if your plan of study is comprehensive, is complete, and it's practical. Is it something that people can do? Because maybe it's too big, too much for a scholarship. So they're not gonna, so they want to make sure that you can put together a good plan. They're gonna look at your academic record and work experience. Again, work can be volunteer, can be internship also. They're gonna look at your commitment to working in the field, right? Are you really committed to your field? Or you just want a master's degree to make more money in anything, okay? So they want to see that, okay? Dedication to development, to the development of your community. English language proficiency. They look at flexibility, cultural sensitivity, if you are adaptable to living abroad. Creativity, self-reliance, and independence, right? Interpersonal and human relations skills and leadership. So those are the criteria that they use. And that's true for most scholarships, you could say, okay? So in your essay, in your application, you have to show a little bit of all this, okay? And if they have two candidates with the same score, how do they untie? Sometimes they say, you know, this one of them is from Java. We already gave too many scholarships to Java. Let's give it to the other one who's from Kalimantan. That's a regional balance. They want to balance out. Sometimes they do that, okay? Sometimes they say, you know, there's a lot of men in this field. We need to give more scholarship for women, or vice versa. That's another way that they untie, okay? Field of study, we have too many business majors here. Let's give a scholarship to someone from dance or from design, you know, because they want to have more diversity of fields. And diversity in general, right? Diversity in general, like people who are minorities, people who are sometimes victims of prejudice in their country, you know, any type of minority, gender minorities or racial minorities, they like that. They like to give those people a voice so they can represent themselves with more power in their society. So scholarships. So I want to do this recommendation request, and then I'm going to stop here and do questions, and then I'm not going to go into the statement of purpose. This is an example of a recommendation request letter. Why is this important? Because don't just send a WhatsApp to someone and say, hey, can you write me a recommendation letter? No, give them information, okay? So that they, dear professor, thank you for being willing to write me a letter of recommendation in support of my scholarship application. This letter will give you a better idea of the classes and activities that I have been involved with, and I have attached my updated resume. So give them your resume, give them your list of classes that you took, right? Give them the information they need to write the letter. I'm hoping that you could focus on different aspects of my background, character, academics, and activities, so the scholarship committee will get a broad sense of my life and skills. I appreciate you taking the time to write this letter of recommendation. Please let me know if you need any other information from me. Your support means a lot. This letter is due on, and always send the request at least 2 weeks in advance. People are busy. They need time, okay? Don't send this request and say, I need the letter tomorrow. They're not gonna be happy to write it, okay? Send a long time in advance, okay? And tell them the date. I need this by the date. And 2 days before the date, send them an email. Hey, I'm just reminding you that the letter is due in 2 days. It's okay. People are busy. They'll thank you for that, okay? Tell them how to submit. Maybe they should give the letter to you. Maybe they should go on a website and upload it, whatever it is. Okay, thank you again. Your name. Again, very simple, but very professional. And you are helping them write because you're giving them your resume, you're giving them your list of classes. Okay, that's important. So I highly recommend that you approach people like that. Okay, let's stop here and then I'll answer questions now, and then we'll get, because the other information is about statements of purpose. And we can stop here and let's look at some general questions. So do you have any questions about English, about application, about anything that you want to ask?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fabio, for sharing such a valuable insight on how to get a scholarship tips and for success. Your presentation was truly informative. This is your chance to ask your question, any question you have about the topic, and clarify any doubt you may have. For the audience who want to ask, just raise your hand on the feature Zoom, please.
Can we also say that people who cannot speak, they can write the question in the text box?
Yes.
Is that okay? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it's okay. Okay, I see from Adila. Yeah, please, Adila.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fabio, for your explanation. It's very insightful. My name is Adila. I want to ask how to build an attractive profile and increase my opportunity of getting an oversized scholarship in today's competitive era. And then, what academic qualifications are often needed to get the overseas scholarship? Thank you, Mr. Fabio.
Yeah, no problem. So in terms of in this day and age, like I think that the requirements in general, I would say show them the most important thing that you want to do is to show them that you are independent. Because what's the biggest problem we have today with social media and all that? People have wrong information all the time. They don't know how to tell a fact from fiction. So in your application, if you can show critical thinking, if you can show that I'm not the type of person who believes everything I read, I always check. I'm not the type of person who sends information that is not true. I know how to navigate good from and tell good from bad information. I have the critical thinking skills that someone needs to go and study abroad. That's the most important thing, okay? Now, in terms of academic skills in general, I would say, don't think only about grades. Make a combination between grades and experience, okay? Grades and experience. And experience can be professional, can be volunteer, but anything that, it's that balance that will give you a more open door. Because a lot of students believe that if I'm a really, really good student, and I'll get a scholarship. Not necessarily. Many people with, I've seen many people with 4.0 GPAs lose scholarships, and many people with a 3.4, 3.5 get the scholarship. Because why do they have a 3.5? Because they were working while they were studying. So they have a lot of experience, right? And if someone can work and get still a 3.5, it's because they really put a lot of effort, right? And so sometimes those things really count, okay? And I know that some of you who are working at CSEAS, so that's experience that you have, right? That's work experience, and that's either volunteer or working. That's great to talk about when you apply for a scholarship. Very good
Okay.
question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Fabio, for your answer. Please, please, the audience, if you have any question, just raise your hand or you can text on the chat box, Zoom. Okay, yeah. Please, Mbak Nirmala.
Yeah, thank you, Fabio, for your presentation. And so, from your presentation, belum ada suaranya ya? Oh, so for your presentation, I think essay is the most important things when you apply the scholarship. So I want to ask question like scholarship essay often have award limits. So do you have any suggestion for the application on how to condense their thoughts and ideas while maintaining the essay's quality and impact? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Nirmala. And I think that the way, let me tell you how I do it. I always write many drafts. The first time you organize the information, don't think about the word limits. Answer the question the first time. And then the next day say, okay, how can I make this text short? Now, when you know that all the information is there, try to make it smaller. Try to make it more objective, okay? First, you put all the information, and then you revise again and again and again to make it more compact, right? But if you don't have the information, you can't. For example, let me give you an example of what I did. Arisman asked me for a bio. I had a long bio. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm not going to send a bio like this. I worked 20 minutes and I made it a short bio. But if I didn't have the long bio, I couldn't write the short one. See what I mean? Because my job was to reduce it, which was easier than writing something small from scratch. Okay, so my suggestion to you is make revisions, make a lot of revisions. Okay, and it's the revisions that will help you get to your best writing. And the other thing I would say is a lot of people, they make a very bad mistake too. For example, if the application is due, let's say today is October 11, the application is due October 15 in 4 days. Oh, let me write the letter of my statement of purpose now. No, write that 2 months before and keep revising every week. Look at it again, revise. Look at it again. If I spend 20 minutes on it every week, by the end of like 6 or 7 weeks, your writing will be very good. Okay, that's the best way to remember. Everybody who publishes a book, who publishes an article, they don't write something and publish. They write and spend weeks and weeks and weeks revising it, right? And then they publish. Okay, so to make something good, you need time and you need revision, and you need people who can read it for you and say, yeah, it's good.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Fabio. Okay, any question for other participants? Please raise your hand or you directly on mic in Zoom. You can directly on mic in Zoom.
I have one question.
Yes, please, Vanessa.
Thank you, Fabio, for your for your presentation. I have one question. Can you provide examples of common mistakes that applicants should avoid when writing their scholarship essays?
Yeah, I think a very good question. And going back to the other point, Alyssa, I think the biggest mistake is lack of revision. Another big mistake is people don't answer all the questions that the application is asking to, or sometimes they don't make a connection. I've read a lot of essays like this where the students, they don't make the connection between their story, their field of study, and how their country can benefit. That connection is really, really important. Okay, how something that you want connects with your story in what's best for your country and what you're studying. So make that connection. Okay. And when we do the next workshop, when Parisman decides it, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Okay. But it's too much for one session. That's why we didn't do it today. We're going to see examples of that.
Okay, thank you, Fabio.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Any question from other participants? I think there are no more questions. Yeah. I'd like to take a few moments to thank you for our participants for his valuable insight and that have shared with us today. I'd like also to express my gratitude to all of you, our participants, for participating this workshop. And I hope you enjoy and benefit from the presentation and discussion. Fabio, please feel free if there anything else you want to say.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. Thank you to all of you who participated, who followed however you can, right? Whether you can only listen or you can be engaged. I know everybody has their own life and routines, and I totally understand that. Thank you to Parisman because he's been very helpful to me so far. And I do this with a lot of pleasure because I also enjoy connecting with students like I did. And thank you all who are listening on any other platform, because this is also being live streamed, right? And I'm sure there's other people listening out there. So thank you for joining as well, even though we didn't get to interact. It's a pleasure to have presented something that may have been useful to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Fabio, and thank you for everyone. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you,
Take care.
Parisman.
Take care. See
So
you.
let's talk and arrange
Yes.
the next one. Okay.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thank